Welcome, brave hobbyists, to the Unpainted Horde, the podcast dedicated to celebrating and sometimes lamenting the glorious world of tabletop miniatures. I'm Finn.
And I'm Luna. We're here to wallow in the plastic shame alongside you and talk about some of the biggest and smallest miniatures games out there and all those in between. Each week, we'll be diving into rule sets, miniature ranges, painting tips, and everything else that fuels our plastic crack addictions.
All right, gearheads and wasteland warriors, get ready to dive into the world of Gaslands. If you're into miniatures gaming and have a need for speed, well, this is the deep dive for you.
It's taking something we all have, like those die-cast cars gathering dust and turning them into post-apocalyptic weapons of destruction.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool about Gaslands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Forget those expensive miniatures. Gaslands is all about grabbing those toy cars, throwing on some crazy weapons, and watching the mayhem unfold. We're going to equip you with the knowledge to build your own team and dominate the wasteland.
So imagine this. 2018, Earth is under Martian rule after a brutal war. Society's gone, and the only way out is through this televised blood sport, Gaslands. It's like Mad Max meets a demolition derby with a whole lot of reality TV drama.
Okay, I'm hooked already. So break it down for us. What's the core concept of Gaslands?
At its heart, it's vehicular combat, right? You build teams of tricked-out toy cars, arm them with all sorts of weapons, and then battle it out on the tabletop. But it's not just about smashing cars, it's about winning over the audience, too.
Oh, so there's a whole audience interaction element.
Big time. The audience is bloodthirsty, and they want a show. But one of the things that makes Gaslands so awesome is its simplicity. The rule book, Gaslands Refueled, is super straightforward. Plus, you don't need a ton of fancy stuff to play.
Yeah, the accessibility is a huge draw for sure. And those toy cars, I mean, who doesn't have a box of those lying around somewhere?
Exactly. Now, gameplay is fast-paced. Each round is split into 6 gear phases, numbered 1 to 6, and players take turns activating their vehicles within those phases.
Okay, so 6 gears, kind of like a real car?
Kind of, but with a twist. The player who holds something called pole position, a coveted spot that shifts throughout the game, they get to go first in each gear phase, deploying and activating their vehicle.
Ah, so there's a tactical advantage to holding that pole position then. It's not just about speed, it's about positioning.
Exactly. And that brings us to the heart of Gasland's chaotic charm, skid dice.
Okay, I've heard about these skid dice. What makes them so special?
So, unlike other games with simple movement values, skid dice throw in this awesome element of chance. Every roll can lead to a gear shift, a slide, a spin, even a hazard.
Hold on, so even if I have this perfect move planned, a bad roll could send me careening off course.
Totally. You're always pushing your luck, trying to pull off risky moves while hoping the dice are in your favor.
And I know Gaslands encourages that rule of carnage where awesome moments often trump strict rules. Does that apply to movement as well?
100%. The game wants you to be creative, improvise, and go with the flow. Think of it less like a strict set of rules and more like a collaborative story you're all telling together.
That's a great way to put it. Now let's talk about something that's bound to happen in a game about souped-up death race cars. Collisions.
Yeah, collisions are practically a given, and they're not just spectacular crashes. They add a layer of strategy to the game.
All right, so how does a collision actually work? Say my tricked-out muscle car is about to slam into my opponent's monster truck. What happens?
Okay, first, there's something called the collision window, right? This is where things get tense. You've got to figure out how these vehicles are going to hit each other. Is it head-on, T-bone, tailgate?
Oof, some of those sound brutal, especially for smaller vehicles.
Oh, they can be. And then, this is the moment of truth. Each player involved has to pick a reaction. Do they evade, try to slam on the brakes, or go for the epic smash attack?
Okay, break those down for us. Evade, that's like trying to swerve out of the way.
Right, but you're still rolling those dice to see if you can nudge your car out of the danger zone, and you still got to complete the move you started, so even a successful evade doesn't mean you're completely safe.
And slam on, that's hitting the brakes hard to lessen the impact.
Yeah, you're basically sacrificing speed to reduce damage, bringing your gear down to 1.
And then there's that smash attack. What's the thinking behind ramming your opponent head on? Is it just pure aggression?
It can be, but there's strategy involved. A smash attack is about using your car as a weapon. But remember, you're rolling those dice to figure out the damage to both vehicles involved.
Ah, so if my little car slams into a huge truck, that might end up worse for wear?
But the weight difference is definitely a factor, yeah. But a well-timed smash attack, even with a lighter vehicle, can mess up your opponent's movement or create an opening for a teammate.
I love that Gaslands makes you think on your feet and adapt to this ever-changing chaos.
That's the beauty of it. And that chaos goes through the roof when a vehicle loses all its hull points and gets wrecked.
Okay, so game over for that car. Is it removed from the board?
Not entirely. It gets flipped over, but it stays on the tabletop as an obstacle. It can block paths, provide cover, or even become a weapon itself if you're clever enough.
So even in death, a car can still be a factor in Gaslands. I love that.
Oh, and then there are the explosions. Not every wreck goes up in flames, but when they do, it's pure mayhem.
Okay, walk us through an explosion. What triggers it, and what are the consequences?
Well, the chances of an explosion depend on the wrecked vehicle's weight and whether it was carrying anything volatile, like ammo tokens.
So if I'm hoarding ammo and my car goes down, I might turn it into a bomb.
Exactly. And when that happens, it creates this blast radius. Any vehicle too close, friend or foe, takes damage.
Like a chain reaction of carnage. That's going to be a wild sight on the table.
It is, and explosions can happen during collisions, too. If a smash attack does enough damage, boom. So ramming that ammo-loaded truck might not be the best idea.
Yeah, I'm starting to see that. Okay, I think we've covered the basics of movement and collisions.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the Gaslands magic happens.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Speed, crashes, explosions. It's all about creating those cinematic action movie moments.
Before we move on to arming our vehicles, any last thoughts on what makes this movement and collision system so special?
It's how it blends strategy and unpredictability so seamlessly. You're constantly assessing risk, adapting to sudden changes, and finding creative solutions in this crazy, chaotic wasteland. It's controlled chaos at its best.
Awesome. I'm so ready to start outfitting my vehicles and causing some serious mayhem in the Gaslands arena.
Well, buckle up, because we've only just scratched the surface. Welcome back to our Gaslands deep dive. Last time, we explored the crazy world of movement and collisions, but now it's time to turn those rides into true death machines.
Oh yeah, I am ready to unleash some vehicular fury. So let's talk weapons and upgrades and all the ways we can customize our rides.
The customization aspect of Gaslands is honestly one of my favorite things about it. Taking these ordinary toy cars and turning them into rolling arsenals is just incredibly fun.
Absolutely. And we know the rule books suggest starting with buggies and performance cars, but the options definitely go way beyond those basics.
You're right, and each vehicle type has, its own personality, or I guess I should say its own set of advantages and disadvantages that can really impact how you approach the game.
So it's not just about picking the coolest looking car. I actually need to think about how it handles, how tough it is, and of course how much damage it can dish out.
Exactly. For example, you mentioned buggies earlier. They're lightweight, super nimble, with a high handling value, so they can zip around the track, dodging attacks, weaving through obstacles, no problem.
Okay, that sounds like my kind of ride.
It's definitely a fun one, but that speed comes at a price. Their hull point value is pretty low, which means they won't last long against a direct hit from a heavier vehicle. Kind of a glass cannon,
Yeah.
capable of doing damage, but also vulnerable to a well-placed shot.
I see. So a trade-off between agility and durability. What about performance cars? Do they offer a bit more balance?
Yeah, performance cars are a good option for players who want a bit of everything. They have decent handling and max gear, so you've got some speed and maneuverability there.
So a solid all-arounder, capable of holding their own in most situations. But what about those more, out there vehicles? The rulebook mentions monster trucks, bikes, even helicopters. Talk about variety.
Oh yeah, those really open up the game. If you want to rule the road with pure intimidation, the monster truck is the way to go. They can literally climb over wrecked vehicles with their up and over ability.
Now that's what I call crowd-pleasing carnage.
It's a sight to behold, for sure. And if you're all about speed and agility, well, the bikes are for you. Their handling is off the charts, and with the full throttle rule, they can tear around the track at insane speeds.
I bet they're a nightmare to try and hit.
Yeah.
But I imagine they're not the toughest vehicles out there.
Yeah, their low hull points mean you have to be strategic with them. Use that speed to avoid taking direct hits. They're like the hit-and-run specialists of Gaslands.
And what about helicopters? Are they as game-changing as they sound?
They're definitely the heavy hitters of the game. They ignore most terrain effects and can rain down destruction from above. But they're also expensive, and with the restricted rule, you can't just load your team up with them.
Gotcha. So they're a strategic investment, not something you throw into every team.
Exactly. Now, once you picked your vehicles, it's time to turn them into those rolling arsenals we talked about.
Let's talk weapons. We've already mentioned machine guns and rocket launchers, but What other tools of destruction are we working with here?
Oh, Gaslands has a crazy arsenal. You've got flamethrowers, harpoons, even a weapon that launches wrecked cars at your opponents. I'm not kidding.
Hold on, a wreck launcher. You're serious.
It's real and it's amazing. Imagine launching a flaming wreck across the battlefield and watching it smash into your opponent's car. It's like peak Gaslands chaos.
Okay, I need that in my life.
Right.
But before we get too carried away with wreaking havoc, let's break down how these weapons actually work in the game. We know each weapon has stats for range, facing, and attack dice.
Yeah, range, like we touched on earlier, determines how far the weapon can actually shoot, and facing dictates what direction it can fire. Some weapons are fixed to the front, while others can be mounted on the sides or rear of the vehicle.
So, thinking about weapon placement and coverage is key when I'm building my team.
100%. A good Gaslands vehicle will have a mix of weapons, to handle different ranges and tactical situations. And then we have attack dice, which determine the weapon's power, essentially.
So, more attack dice equals more potential damage.
Pretty much. You roll those dice, and you're hoping for 4s or higher to hit your target. And if you're really lucky, you'll roll a 6 for a critical hit.
Critical hit. Okay, tell me more about that.
Oh, those are awesome. A critical hit basically inflicts 2 hits instead of just 1, and a couple of those can really cripple your opponent.
Very nice. We're talking about toy cars with glued-on guns here, but there's actually a surprising amount of depth to this combat system.
It's more than just pointing and shooting. You've got to think about positioning, range, weapon combos, and of course, there's always that element of luck with the dice rolls.
Oh, and don't forget about evades.
Right. Every time an attack die hits, your opponent gets to roll a die to try and evade. If they roll a 6 or higher, they cancel 1 hit. So even a perfect shot isn't a guaranteed hit.
Okay, I like that. Keeps things interesting, even when you think you have the upper hand.
Definitely. And don't forget about cover. Hiding behind obstacles or even wrecked vehicles can make it way harder for your opponent to hit you.
So it's not just about all-out aggression. You got to play smart and think defensively, too.
Gaslands rewards players who can do both. And on top of picking your vehicles and weapons, you can customize them even further with upgrades.
All right, upgrades. What kind of upgrades are we talking about here?
Think of them like performance enhancements for your vehicles. You can add armor plating for extra durability, nitro boosters for bursts of speed, even a roll cage to protect your car during those wipeouts.
Hold up, a roll cage. So if I flip my car, it's not completely out of the game.
Exactly. The roll cage reduces the damage your car takes when it flips. Definitely worth it if you like to take risks with your driving.
I'm starting to see how all these customization options come together. The vehicles, weapons, upgrades. It's all about creating unique builds and playstyles.
It is. And we haven't even touched on sponsors yet. They add a whole other layer of depth, giving you access to unique perks and abilities that can really change the game.
Sponsors, you say?
Yeah.
All right, this deep dive is getting more interesting by the minute. All right, Wasteland Warriors, welcome back. Last time, we decked out our rides with some seriously crazy weapons and upgrades, but any seasoned miniatures gamer knows a truly killer team needs more than just firepower.
Right. It's like, what's really cool here is that Gaslands doesn't just stop at building awesome cars. It's about joining a faction, finding a sponsor that gives your team an identity and some unique perks.
I like that. So let's talk about sponsors then. We know there are a ton of these factions fighting for control in this post-apocalyptic world, each with its own style and agenda.
Yeah, and choosing a sponsor is like, it's more than just picking a name. It's like embracing a whole philosophy, a way of life in the Wasteland. You're picking a side in this global conflict, a team to represent in this televised blood sport.
Right, and you mentioned the Rutherford Corporation before. They definitely seem to have that whole might makes right thing going on.
Oh, Rutherford is all about military power and corporate greed, for sure. Their perk, military hardware, lets you field a tank, even a helicopter. I mean, talk about bringing some serious firepower.
And I remember they have that well-stocked perk that gives you more ammo for certain weapons.
Yeah.
You can really unleash some destruction with that.
Totally, but their perks also show how ruthless they are. Might is right
Yeah.
actually prevents you from using any lightweight vehicles. It's all about those heavy hitters, brute force,
No buggies allowed for these guys. They want to make a statement.
Oh, yeah, they definitely want to show. Their perk, televised carnage, gives you audience votes just for inflicting massive damage. The more carnage, the more the crowd loves you.
So Rutherford is, for those players who want to just dominate with pure firepower and aggression, sounds like a blast. But I'm curious about that Miyazaki syndicate. They seem to be more about finesse and speed.
Oh, yeah, Miyazaki is all about style, precision. Remember that virtuoso perk? You can push your vehicles without getting hazard tokens. That opens up some seriously risky moves.
That perk alone is tempting.
I know, right? But there's a trade-off. Their elegance perk won't let you use vehicles with low handling. It's not just about winning for them, it's about winning with flair.
So no clunky vehicles for the Miyazaki Syndicate. They want a team that's fast, agile, exciting to watch.
Exactly. And their perk showing off really embodies that. You get rewarded for pulling off those cool maneuvers, like slides and spins, as long as you don't wipe out, of course.
Okay, so it's a high-risk, high-reward style where skill and a little luck can earn you a lot of audience votes. And speaking of audience votes, why are they so important in Gaslands?
Audience votes, they represent the viewers at home, the people tuning in for the spectacle, the crashes, the explosions.
So it's not just about beating your opponents, it's about putting on a good show for the audience. I like that. But what can you actually do with those audience votes?
Oh, they're like a catch-up mechanic. You can spend them to, soften bad luck, remove hazard tokens, repair damage, get some extra movement, even sabotage your opponents.
Wow, so they add a whole other strategic layer to the game. It's not over till the last car is wrecked.
Oh, absolutely. Those audience votes can be game changers. Imagine you're behind, right? But you've got all these audience votes from some crazy moves and maybe a lucky explosion. You could use those to boost your car, sabotage your opponent, and turn the whole game around.
Like having a secret weapon, a way to swing things in your favor when things aren't going your way.
Exactly. Now, on top of sponsors and audience votes, Gaslands has all these different game modes and scenarios that add even more variety.
Yeah, we've been talking about death races, but the rulebook mentions others, like Arena of Death and Capture the Flag.
Right. Those move away from that classic racing format and give you some unique challenges and objectives. Arena of Death, that's like a battle royale, last car standing wins. And Capture the Flag, that one needs teamwork and careful planning to snag the objective.
So something for everyone, whether you prefer all-out mayhem or a more strategic, objective-based game.
You got it. And if you want more of a story in your games, well, Gaslands has campaign options where you can develop your team over multiple games. You earn upgrades, experience rivalries, and basically create your own wasteland legends.
Campaigns, huh? I do love a good story mixed in with my miniatures games. Tell me more about those.
The Savage Highways campaign is a great example. One player controls this heavily armed war rig, and the other players are gangs of raiders trying to take it down. It's like a post-apocalyptic convoy escort mission with tons of twists and turns.
That does sound awesome. So you're not just battling for victory in one game, you're fighting for survival across this whole wasteland.
Yeah, and those campaign rules add so much to the game. The war rig has special upgrades, unique scenarios, and all these narrative elements that bring the story to life.
Wow. Gaslands really does offer a ton of content and variety. It's a miniatures game with something for everyone.
It's that perfect mix of accessibility and depth. Whether you're a veteran or brand new to miniatures games, Gaslands is easy to pick up, but still has endless possibilities for customization, strategy, and storytelling.
And don't forget that Rule of Carnage. Don't be afraid to bend the rules. Get creative with your builds and play style and create those awesome cinematic moments that make Gaslands so unique.
Exactly. It's a game that thrives on improvisation and rewards those who embrace the chaos.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything in this deep dive into Gaslands. We've explored the mechanics, the vehicles, weapons, sponsors, game modes, even the lore.
We've given you the tools you need to build your teams, conquer the wasteland, and become legends of the Gaslands arena.
So what are you waiting for? Grab your toy cars, unleash your creativity, and get ready for the ride of your life.
We'll see you in the wasteland.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week, folks. Thanks for joining us on the Unpainted Horde. We hope you learned something, and maybe even feel a little bit better about that mountain of unpainted miniatures looming over you.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us spread the word and justify our addiction. Until next time, may your dice rolls be ever in your favor, and may your primer coats be thin.
This podcast was created with significant help from Google Notebook LM.